All right, we are speaking about the FIRE movement. If you are not aware of what the FIRE movement is, you're going to see it everywhere after this. It's this new, I don't want to say trend, movement of people that are retiring early. So the typical age of retirement is in your 60s. It's when you can draw from Social Security or your IRA. That's usually when people end up being retired. The FIRE movement, which stands for Financial Independence, Retire Early, their whole push is to retire way, way before that. So they encourage you to retire in your 30s, 40s, and in some cases your late 20s. And this is kind of the philosophy that they have. Instead of saving 10 or 20% of your income each month, they encourage you to go way beyond that and save 50 to 70%. So they promote a real frugal, minimalist lifestyle. With the money you save, they encourage you to put it in low-fee index funds. They do talk about rental properties, but index funds are kind of their go-to vehicle. From there, they want you to build up 25 times your expenses. So if you make 50 grand a year, you would have to build up 1.25 million, $1,250,000 of investable income. And then once you get to that point, then you're able to retire and you start drawing 4% of that. And then from that point, they encourage you to do something that's kind of more passion driven. So I'm a writer, traveler, blogger, etc. And you can make money doing it that way. So pros and cons to it. I think one, they live a frugal lifestyle. So dude, they're getting really creative on how to bring expenses down. They have eyes on their money. Dude, they're saving at a massive amount. Those are all like really cool things about this. I think the biggest one is you're starting to see more of a young generation see an actual path towards financial freedom, and they are definitely putting in the work to get there. So those are all really good things. Some of the things to be mindful of is retiring in your 20s and 30s. That's a long time left in your life. That's 50 to 60 years of retirement. And remember, things can go wrong. You can get sick, marriages can go away, your passion that's now somewhat of your income cannot bring in enough money. There's issues that happen, so you kind of want to remember that long of a time frame, something could happen in the income you're living off of or the interest you're living off of might not be there. So that's one thing to think of. Two, this model, in my eyes, only works for high income earners. Like, to save 50 or 70% of your income when you're making 50 grand a year, I don't see that really working in most places, definitely not somewhere like California. Two, there's certain careers where you have the ability to drive your income up. There's other careers you don't. So if you're in sales or you're an entrepreneur, yes, if your goal is like, okay, I want to be on this FIRE movement and I need to figure out how to make more money, you're in a position to make more money. If you're working more of a conventional career, you could be in a position where you're asking for raises more frequently because you're trying to get to your schedule, and those jobs don't typically support that. So I think depending on what your income is, you're going to be challenged there. And then I think like another thing to keep in mind is they talk about retirement being the end goal. Retirement, I don't know if anyone ever should retire. I think like the goal is always financial freedom so that you have the choice or the option to do. But I mean, dude, there's no wonder that I might get the stat wrong, but I think for people when they retire, this is men specifically, 40% of them once they retire have a higher chance of being depressed. There's a certain thing that like we need to feel like we're actually contributing to feel happiness. And if that goes away, that could be a challenge. And I'm saying that because they put such a strong emphasis on retiring be the end goal that if you end up going back to work, it's kind of perceived as you messed up or you failed, which I don't think that's always the case. I actually think it's good to work. I think there's a lot of ways where that could make you feel fulfilled. But with all that said, I think it's really cool that like they are encouraging saving and planning for your future. Another one too, actually, before I close it down, that I just thought of. They talk about index funds being like the main vehicle. You gotta remember, having everything in one basket, there's some concern there. Index funds don't always, like in a bull market, yeah, these things it's a great vehicle. In a bear market, they start coming down, and as you look at it on a longer timeline, it kind of evens out. But one thing to consider is if you're not totally diversified, things happen, and that might throw off your whole system. So some things to keep in mind, some really cool things about it. Go look at it, do some research. I think all in all, it's pretty rad that like people are fired up and actually making steps towards their future.